Thank you. Merci. Bonjour. Welcome. Today's an exciting day for the Ottawa Senators in naming DJ Smith as their 14th head coach. For us, DJ's a winner. He's also a teacher with the foundation to develop and deliver to the fans of the Ottawa Senators the team that they deserve. Merci d'être ici aujourd'hui pour une journée très excitante dans la nomination de DJ Smith comme notre entraîneur. Pour nous, DJ est un gagnant. Il est un professeur avec la fondation de développer et de délivrer à nos partisans des Sénateurs d'Ottawa l'équipe qu'ils méritent. Just before moving forward, I'd also like to welcome DJ's wife, Christy, who's with us here at Bezaire. And I'd also like to thank Peter McTavish, who sat with me on all 7 interviews, and for his help through this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Now it's my pleasure to introduce you, the 14th head coach in Ottawa Senators history, DJ Smith.
Hello. I can't explain how excited I am today to be named the Ottawa Senators head coach. I would like to thank Eugene and Pierre for trusting me to lead this young group, who we all know, and especially around the league, that this is a young group of guys in Ottawa, and there's a talented group in Belleville that I look forward to building and to build some accountability with them. And for that, you guys can hold me accountable, that I'm going to hold them accountable. I would like to thank the Windsor Spitfires, who allowed me to be the assistant coach a long time ago when this journey started. The Oshawa Generals, who trusted me to be the head coach. The Toronto Maple Leafs over the last 4 seasons, who allowed me to be in the NHL. And I look forward to meeting the players as soon as this process can start. Just lastly, I would like to say this team is going to play hard. They're going to play fast, and they're going to work on a nightly basis. I think anyone that's been around me knows that that's what I'm going to ask of them, but I'm also going to give that from myself. For some of you who don't know, I went to all French school growing up in River Canard, Rivière Canard, back home in Windsor. My French is really rusty, so I'm going to give this a shot. Je suis vraiment fier d'être ici. Ça fait longtemps que je n'ai pas l'occasion de parler français. Alors, s'il vous plaît, soyez patient. Je vais aller mieux chaque fois que nous parlons. I think I'll get that rolling by Christmas. We'll see.
With that, we'll move to questions. We'll start with the middle, Terry, and then Kyle.
Hi, DJ. Terry Marcotte from CTV. Welcome to Ottawa. When did becoming a head coach in the NHL become a dream for you?
Probably right. I don't want to say right when my career ended, but as I got into my early 20s and I was playing, I seen the way some coaches were with me, and I really realized then that I want to continue this on, not just to play. I have so much passion for the game, but I just felt that I wanted to help other young players like myself get better, and I knew that outlet would be coaching. So right from that moment, I set out to try and take the best from every coach that I had and use a little bit. And then unfortunately my career ended short with some concussion issues, and I went right into coaching. And from that moment, anything or anyone that knows me knows if I'm doing something, I'm doing it all in. And it was a goal from that moment on. And here I am 15 years later, 16 almost, as a head coach of an NHL team.
Kyle Bukoskis from Sportsnet. DJ, you'll often hear nowadays it's about not so much about the X's and O's, but rather managing people as a coach. Given the 4 years you spent at the NHL level in Toronto, what's your philosophy in terms of getting the most out of players these days, particularly considering, as you mentioned, this is a rather young group here in Ottawa?
Well, I think that's, first of all, I think that's one of the things, spending so much time in junior hockey, you're dealing with young players, but it's just the day-to-day relationships that you have to form with these guys. You have to speak a little bit on their language, but also you got to give yourself to them. Today's players are smart. They know what you're about. You need to know what they're about. And everyone, I guess, has a different way of motivating, and I could put myself in that category that I'm a motivator, and I will find different ways to press buttons on different players. So, I'm excited for this challenge. There's a lot of young players. There's going to be different personalities to deal with, but I can't wait to get started.
Sylvain.
Vincent Laurent from Le Droit newspaper. You said before that you tried to take a little bit from every coach you worked with or played for. Can you expand maybe on that a little bit and tell us maybe who were some of the biggest influences on you coming here?
Well, I played for a guy by the name of Paul Gillis, who played for the Quebec Nordiques back in the day as a 19-year-old. He named me as his captain of the Windsor Spitfires. And just his daily interaction with me and the way he talked to me differently than any other coach I had and really entrusted me a lot more on a day-to-day basis as a person. And right then it hit home with me that that's the way you got to get to people. And you know, when you talk to them, not so much about hockey, just life in general, and you speak to them on a day-to-day basis, let them know you're a person as well. I just found he really drew that out of me, and I knew that I could bring that into my coaching.
Coach Gord Wilson from TSN 1200, en anglais, s'il vous plaît. You talked about the process of getting to know the players. It may be too early for this, but what's the process of assembling a staff? Are you able to identify that right now?
Well, I won't mention names, but certainly when you're trying to become a head coach of a team and going through this process, you have in the back of your mind, you know, what kind of coach or coaches you want to coach with you, and I certainly have all that, and I won't let that be known today. But who those guys are, and if you know, there's people still working out there, and guys that are just finishing up seasons, and you never know what people have left on contracts and things like that. But I just know that the people that will be joining with me will be communicators, people that like to have fun. This is going to be a fun atmosphere for these players. You know, I don't ever speak on what's happened in the past or what's happened in the past for me either. But I know that when I come to the arena, I'm going to have a smile. I'm going to be the most positive person in that room, and they're going to join me. We're going to have some fun.
This one's for Pierre. Lisa Wallace from Canadian Press. How are you? I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Just wondering, you know, it was out there. You interviewed a number of candidates. What made you believe that this is the right hire for this organization at this time?
You know, and that's a good question. For us, DJ checked off all the boxes. We felt we interviewed the 7 best candidates for this job. And when we went back over it, there were numerous things that we liked about DJ. The one thing is his passion. I think his level of drive and his level to have success will match no other candidate that we had. Really, really enjoyed his presence. We sat down multiple hours, we'll say, but really enjoyed it. Went by the first meeting we had, I think we started at 8, and next thing we knew, it was 3 o'clock. How thorough he was. We did some video sessions and how thorough he was with his knowledge of the game and where he felt we could get better, where he felt teams he coached in the past could get better, where he learned. I think his knowledge of the game really impressed us. His energy, we see today. He's pumped, I'm pumped, we're all pumped here. So, and most importantly, he talked about it. When we addressed the team at the end of the year, I told our players that I'll always accept players that don't have the most talent, but we'll never accept here again the players that don't compete. And I know DJ's going to make players accountable. There is no doubt. That's the one thing I'm sure about, that players will be accountable here. And I know that players will be accountable under DJ because of the way he talks and the way he communicates with people. It wasn't an easy decision. There were 7 great candidates. There are 7 guys that could have had this job. But at the end of the day, we went with what we felt was the best decision, and I went with my gut, and DJ Smith was our choice.
DJ Bruce Garriock from Post Media, and I just have a question for you too, Pierre. DJ, what did you like about this roster that you found attractive, that attracted you to this job?
Well, besides the obvious guys that are playing up here right now with Tkachuk and Shabbat that everyone talks about, around the league, people talk about the young talent that they have, both here and in Belleville. And for me, it reminds me of going to Oshawa or starting in Windsor when you had a bunch of young guys and you were we were dead last in Windsor one year, and you grew together. And for me, as a first-time head coach in the NHL, to grow with these guys, it was important for me, and it's something I really wanted, was to be able to grow with the group. And I'm always about team first. Everywhere I've been, it's we before me. And the big thing is that we can do this together. And I can't be more excited to be able to start fresh with a group and a bunch of young guys that are hungry. I watched them last year. I watched 20 games for this interview of theirs, and I see the young guys that are hungry. I know about their guys in Belleville. So I look forward to working with these guys, and some will be here this year, some will be coming in time, but not just playing in the NHL. I look forward to developing and making these guys good NHL players.
Pierre, did you want a young coach to develop young players? Because you talked to some veteran guys too.
No, obviously, it wasn't just a young coach or an old coach. It was the best coach available. But at the same time, having someone that DJ just referred to as growing with these players, learning to win together, DJ showing them how to win, I think was crucial for us in this decision.
Marc Brassard du Droit. Question pour Pierre. Dans quel ordre tu as rencontré DJ dans les 7 candidats que tu as eus? Puis tu as eu des gros noms là-dedans, dont un particulièrement cette semaine. Est-ce que, à quel moment que tu as pris ta décision que DJ était l'homme de la situation?
The decision was made probably Wednesday morning when I woke up. I had a good idea Tuesday after our last interview. I let Eugene know Wednesday morning of our decision, and through this process, Eugene has been extremely supportive. We've had a lot happen in the last 3 years when I've been GM, but I can tell you in this decision, Eugene was extremely supportive. He said, Pierre, this is your choice. If you feel this strongly about DJ, just go ahead and hire him. So probably I'd have to tell you, in my own mind, Mark, the decision was made probably Wednesday morning, and that I reached out to DJ to have him come to Ottawa at that point in time. Oh, excuse-moi. La décision a été prise mercredi, Marc, pour DJ. Puis tout au long du procès, je sais que j'ai parlé à M. Melnick mardi après ma dernière entrevue pour lui dire que je pensais encore à la décision. Je voulais dormir un peu dessus. Et puis mercredi matin, c'est quand j'ai pris la décision et j'ai communiqué avec DJ qu'on pourrait peut-être s'asseoir pour parler de contrat.
One question for DJ. You're a former defenseman. How do you see fixing the defensive play of the Senators, who allowed more than 300 goals last season?
Well, and that's a good question, but what I would say is defense is a 5-man unit. One of the biggest things is we're going to develop these defensemen to not only be active in the rush, but they're going to be responsible defensively. And it doesn't fall on just them. We're going to teach the centers how to play low in their zone. Today's centers in today's game have to be essentially, they're like a third defenseman. In your own zone, you have 3 guys playing low. One of them's a centerman. And if your centermen don't know how to play in their own zone, that's going to affect your defensive zone coverage. So a lot of times it gets pinpointed on the defenseman. That's not the case in today's NHL. Also, our offensive zone structure is going to set up our track game. We're going to be a fast track transition team. That's going to help have us a numbers back. That's going to help us to break the puck out better. So a lot of these things, it's not going to just be the defense. And a lot of times people just talk about defense. The best defensive teams in hockey have great defensive centers. And I think you're looking at that right now with Boston and St. Louis. You're looking at teams that have centers that can play in their own zone. And those are the teams that can play the best defense. So we're going to teach the centers, not only the defensemen, but we're going to teach the centers how to play in their own zone, how to face the puck. I can only speak as a head coach to when I was in Oshawa. We had one of the lowest goals against, I think, in the last 15 years there. And one of the things we did is our centers could play defense. And that's something that's up to me to teach.
Hi, Ian Mendes with TSN 1200. Just had a question for each of you, if that's okay. I'll start with DJ. Can you just talk about maybe the contrast going from behind the bench from a team that had Stanley Cup aspirations and probably a lot of pressure on it to a completely different situation where I think it feels like probably 2 or 3 years away from really competing and getting into that same window?
Well, I was in Toronto 4 years ago. They were the worst team in the National Hockey League, and I walked in a very similar situation. And it starts by building day in and day out a foundation of hard work. And I think you'll hear me say that a lot, but it's going to be accountability, hard work, and we're going to get better every day. You're never going to put limitations on a group, and I certainly won't put limitations on this team next year. But also, you have to manage expectations as to what your team looks like. So we're going to build as quickly as possible, but also we need to be smart, and we don't want to rush anyone. And we're going to get our structure, and we're going to get the way we play done quickly here. But we're also, like I said, going to manage expectations. But I will put no limitations on this year's team.
And Pierre, just a question of, you mentioned you had, I guess, 7 candidates that you interviewed, and obviously one of them, I guess, was Mark Crawford. And if you want to just offer an opportunity to maybe just talk about Mark's impact here on this team in the last 3 years.
Of the 6 calls that I made this morning, that was definitely the most difficult one. Mark came into a difficult situation, and he did a great job for us. He was a legit candidate, and usually I'm not one to only have a few words, but I didn't know how to really explain it to him this morning. And we thank him for everything he did, but just for us, we felt that DJ was the proper guy for this job.
Dan Seguin with CBC. I have a couple of questions for Pierre, one in each official language.
Yes.
Simplement en français, pourquoi DJ Smith? Qu'est-ce que tu espères qu'il va amener à ton équipe?
Comme je l'ai dit auparavant en anglais, pour nous, DJ, c'est quelqu'un que toutes les qualités qu'on cherchait dans un entraîneur, il les possède. C'est quelqu'un qui a une grande passion, un niveau d'énergie qui est difficile à battre. C'est quelqu'un qui nous a énormément impressionnés avec ses connaissances d'hockey, ses connaissances de comment jouer dans chaque zone, comment apprendre aux joueurs de jouer dans chaque zone. C'est quelqu'un qui est énormément travaillant. C'est quelqu'un qu'on le sait qui va venir ici puis qui va apporter. Les joueurs vont devoir travailler parce que lui, il va donner l'exemple d'être un des plus travaillants. Et puis, il va demander du respect et il va demander que nos joueurs performent au niveau de leur habileté. J'ai dit, lorsque j'ai adressé les joueurs à la fin de la saison dernière, j'ai dit, acceptez que vous n'êtes pas les plus talentueux, mais je ne vais plus jamais accepter qu'on ne travaille pas fort ici. Et puis pour nous, c'est très important et on sait avec DJ comme notre entraîneur que les joueurs vont travailler très fort.
In English, checking social media this morning after the announcement, most of the people critical claim it was a budget hire. How much of a factor was salary in this hire, if at all?
0. First choice. No impact at all. He could have been $10 million a year. He could be working for $1. No impact. I say that with as much certainty as anything I've ever told you. He was the man. He's the best coach for this job. He's getting paid very well for this job.
Pierre, that was my question too. Don Brennan, Ottawa Sun, Ottawa Citizen. That was my question for sure.
I'll ask another one.
I will. I'm wondering, given the importance of this hire, as many coaches as we've seen through the doors here in the last few years, why did you limit it at 7? There are other good candidates out there, you'll have to agree. What was the rush to jump on this right now and limit it at 7 when there are other men out there?
For us, we felt we interviewed the 7 best candidates for this job. We felt, we don't feel we're going to give an interview to someone that we're not going to give the job to. In the last time we did 9, and I felt it was too much. We did a lot of due diligence before in talking about these 7 candidates, and we just felt that, these were the 7 best guys for this job. And there was a wide array. Everyone knows who the names were. And at the end of the day, especially after meeting with DJ, even though we had scheduled the other interviews, we just felt that he was the guy, and whomever the other guys might be out there didn't fit our criteria for this job.
Looks like we got our last 2 with Vincent and so.
Question for DJ. Obviously, you're well aware of some of the, I'll say, drama that's gone on within this organization the past couple of years. Was there any hesitation at all to come into this kind of environment? And how do you try, maybe this is a fan base who's been quite apathetic, how do you feel your role is going to be to turn their opinions around on this franchise?
Well, first of all, there was no there wasn't for 1 second that I thought that. I just see this, and any coach that wants to prove that he's going to be a good coach in this league sees this as an unbelievable opportunity to have these young guys and people out there that may think whatever they think about the team, and a chance to rise with them, and a chance for us and myself to prove that we can do the job. So for me, this was one of the jobs that I looked at and I said, this is perfect situation for me. I love to develop players. I love to make players better. I love to be around these guys every day, and I feel I'm going to get the job done.
Pierre, on est dans une période occupée avec le repêchage le 1er juillet qui s'en vient. Tu vas avoir des opportunités d'apporter des changements à ton alignement. À quel point est-ce que tu veux impliquer le nouvel entraîneur et son équipe dans ces discussions-là?
Le nouvel entraîneur va définitivement être impliqué dans les décisions personnelles du hockey, mais il sait puis il comprend très bien que lui, sa job, c'est de coacher, mais on va travailler très proche avec lui comme on l'a fait auparavant. Je pense que c'est toujours important pour le succès de l'équipe qu'on travaille en équipe nous-mêmes, que ce soit le côté, comment on dirait, le deuxième étage avec les entraîneurs.